big round of applause for the organizers for TakeOut My name is Joanna Sio, and I'm a stand-up comedian, and I'm here to talk about stand-up comedy today. Before I start, I would like to ask you a question. If your friend told you that he went to see a stand-up comedy show, what does that mean? In most cases, it would mean he left the comfort of his home, he went to the venue, he paid for the ticket, and he entered a very crowded small space and listened to one person, just one person, talking for an hour. And in the audience, without knowing what the content was beforehand, there was no prop, there was no special effect, just one person talking. Just a comic. She's not famous, she's not well-dressed, she's not good-looking, but somehow, often, it turned out to be a pretty cool experience. You enjoy it, and at the end, you are pretty charmed by the comic as well. And that fascinates me. Where does the magic come from? I think when you go to see a comedy show, a stand-up comedy show, you pay a lot of attention to what the comic has to say out of self-interest, because you don't want to miss the punchline. You want to laugh, right? You have paid to laugh. You don't want to miss that, right? And laughing feels good. When you laugh, your body releases endorphins. Of course, there are other endorphin-releasing activities, okay? But you might not want to do those in public, okay? Like sneezing, yeah. Right? Like the pleasurable feeling that you get when you laugh is your body giving you a reward. But in order to get the reward, you have to listen very carefully. That's why stand-up comedy is such a powerful tool to deliver a message, because you listen out of your self-interest. As long as you believe the comic can make you laugh, you're going to listen. Now, the question is, how does a comic make the audience feel that she is capable of making them laugh? There's a rule in stand-up comedy. It's called beginning strong and end strong. If you are a famous comic, right, you don't have to do much. People are going to listen to you right from the beginning because they have heard your name, they know that you are funny. But if you're a comic that's not famous, and many comics are not famous, right, and then you've got work to do, and the window doing that work is very, very narrow. It comes down to the first few jokes. You have to begin strong and end strong. In the first few jokes that you're going to do, you have to make the audience laugh. If not, they're not going to listen. And it doesn't matter if you're funny later on, because they're not listening anymore. And you have to end strong, because you are just as good as your last joke. They wouldn't remember your whole set. They only remember your last joke. The set has to end happy. Everyone likes a happy ending. Now, would you go to a comedy show if the comic is going to recite a list of jokes that she finds in a joke book or on the internet? Let me read one for you. This is one from a joke book. A wife and a husband were sitting at home. She saw that her husband has taken off his wedding ring. She asked him why, and he said, "I got a skin condition. The doctor advised me to take the ring off for a while." "What condition?" the wife asked. Without missing a beat, the husband replied, 7-year itch. Now, you haven't heard that before, I assume, and you think, oh, it's pretty funny, it makes me laugh, but would you go see a comedy show with a comic reciting a list of jokes like this for an hour? No. Thank you for the reaction. That's going to be awful, right? Like, do you know why it's awful? Because there's no personality behind the humor. A joke like this that you found on the internet or a joke book is complete in itself. There's no space for the comic's personality in it. For stand-up comedy, you would like to see the comic's personality in the joke. Because when you go to a comedy show, it's like discovery. You're trying to discover what the comic is like. Some comics are so good, you just want to go see them, to see like their views on just anything, because you want to know how they think about different things. So there has to be a connection between the comic and his material. Now, you're thinking, oh, funny is important, be personal, revealing things about the comics is important. Is that all? Not quite. You still have to have a connection between the comic and the audience. You had to feel like we are in this together. I grew up in the 80s in Hong Kong, and Hong Kong used to be a British colony, just like Singapore. And in the 80s, when I was growing up, there were a lot of British expats in Hong Kong, lots of them. And they were very rich, like they had nice cars, they have servants, they went to nice restaurants. I grew up thinking, when I was a teenager, that all British people were rich. That's what I thought. And then one day, I went to England for holiday. And then I got off the flight. And then I saw something I couldn't believe. I saw a white man sweeping the street. It has never occurred to me before that white people have to sweep the street. I had never seen a white man in Hong Kong in the 80s holding a broom, let alone using it, right? I was so emotional. Like, it's never happened. I was so emotional. I felt like I need to go to him. I want to say something to him. I want to say to him, sir, let me do it for you. We were a colony, like we had to learn English when we were small. It's not my first language. I speak Cantonese. We had to learn English. And I always find it very weird. There's no connection between my world and my English books. Because in the English book, they have kids with blonde hair. They have winter that snows. And they live in big houses with gardens. Like, there's no connection. There's no relevance. And I don't like the books. For me, the books would be much better if they show a kitchen with a rice cooker and a wok. And lots and lots of chopsticks. Like, that's how my kitchen looks like, right? It would be much nicer if they have showing a grandmother trying to hang the laundry of the family by sticking a bamboo stick over to the window. Like, this is how my family is like. But there's nothing like that. I feel like there's a disconnection between my world and the world of my English book. As a stand-up comic, you have to have a connection between yourself and the audience, both in terms of performance and material. When we go to different countries to perform, we have to adjust the references, because otherwise the people might not understand. And for some comics, before they perform, they will go to the venues early. They try to sit on different seats and see how it feels like to be looking at the stage from that angle. I know students do that before they go to lectures. They go to the room first to try out different seats to find the best place to sleep. Right? I know you guys do that. A comic will be speaking, making jokes, and you guys will be listening, but it's not a monologue, it's a conversation. If something happens in the room, the comic has to address that. If someone answers my question, someone is falling asleep. Not really, I'm just not falling asleep. So anything that happens in the room, I will have to address that. Because if I don't address that, it feels like I don't own the stage anymore. You might as well by watching a video, because I don't react to what you are saying, right? Then there's no connection. It's important for a comic to own the stage, to be aware of the events happening in the room, because you guys are not witnessing the event. You guys are in the event. So we are in this together. The filmmaker, the director, Martin Scorsese, once said that movies fulfill a spiritual need, that we want to share a common memory. Movies do that. I think live stand-up also do that. When you go, we want to have a feeling of togetherness. I think even more so in stand-up comedy. Like, how many of you have seen stand-up comedy before? Live stand-up comedy. Can you give me a raise your hand? Great. So you understand this. So when you see comedy, right, you're in the audience. When you hear a joke and you laugh, right? Sometimes you see someone looking at you, want to share a laugh. Maybe someone sitting next to you, like standing next to you, right? And that's normal. It's socially acceptable. Like, imagine you're going to see a movie, and it's a funny movie, and the guy sitting next to you look at you, I want to share a laugh. That's going to be creepy. Right? It's completely different. It's true. Because when you are in a room, in a small room, watching stand-up comedy, you have that feeling of togetherness, which you don't have when you go to the cinema. Because you are in this together. And that's why most stand-up comedy rooms, the good rooms, they're actually very tiny, crowded rooms with low ceiling. So you feel the togetherness. Of course, we are like big comics, legends, they do really big rooms. But they are celebrities, so there's a different type of game. When... a few years after I went to England for holiday, I went to Canada to study. And it's the first time I left home, like, different country, different language. I was feeling homesick and was not very happy. And in the first few months I was there, I remember I used to call the suicide prevention hotline because I needed to talk to someone, and I needed to practice my English. What I just did is called a callback. A callback is a joke that's based on the previous bit, an assumption that I have made earlier on. So in this case, about a bit I have to learn English. For a joke to work, the comic and the audience, we have to share some kind of assumption. For racial stereotype jokes to work, we have to know the stereotype. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. I went to Mumbai for a comedy performance last year in April. And I went with a Dutch lady, blonde, very, very pretty. And I went with also an Indian from Singapore, and me. 3 people went there. And in Mumbai, everyone thinks the blonde girl is a Hollywood star. And the Indian lady is her manager. And me, I'm the Nepalese maid. I know, like this is what happened. Like, in order to understand joke, we have to share assumption. You have to understand the setting, otherwise it wouldn't work, right? If I tell this joke to someone who doesn't understand anything about India, that wouldn't work at all. This joke wouldn't fly, right? And for callback, the joke that I just did about Canada, the assumption is that I have to learn English. Cantonese is my first mother tongue, so I have to learn English, right? And this assumption is very intimate, because I didn't know that before. We have just established that in the performance, in the set, while I'm talking to you, right? So it's very, very recent, and also very, very intimate, because only you and me know that. People outside this room, they wouldn't know, right? What happens in this room stays in this room. So this is how intimate it is. And that's why callback works so well, because it's intimate. It's an inside joke between just you and me. I think going to see a stand-up comedy show is not unlike going on a blind date. Like if I go on a blind date, I wouldn't go anymore because I'm married, but if I would go, I think I would find the other person a lot more attractive. He's funny, right? And he talks about himself. I feel like he's honest, revealing himself. And he cares about me. So if I don't like a certain topic, he will change the topic. So these 3 things are very, very, very important. And I think stand-up comics, they use these techniques brilliantly to make the show a very enjoyable experience for the audience. 3 techniques. First one, there has to be a connection between what you talk about and who you are. So there's a comic and the material, there's a connection. Connection number 2, the audience and the comic, there has to be a connection. I have to connect with you. The third point would be funny. So connection, and funny. And I think the blind date metaphor can even go a bit further. When a date doesn't go well, there's no need to prolong the agony, right? You just leave. Like guys in the room, I'm telling you, like, it doesn't go well, you just leave, okay? You don't stay. The same goes for stand-up comedy. If the audience is not on your side, the comic feels rejected, if you can, just get off stage, cut your losses. That's the best you can do. However, even when it goes well, you shouldn't stay for too long, because you should never exhaust your audience. You should let them long for more. You should leave them feeling a little bit hungry. You should end early. And on that note, I'll leave you right now. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you.